Buon pomeriggio, bentornati a tutti, bentornate. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our second keynote speech today by Professor Simonetta Grilli, who's a professor of social anthropology and anthropology of the family at the University of Siena. She has conducted research in southern Somalia and in various regions of Italy, including Tuscany, Sardinia, and Basilicata, focusing on themes related to family, kinship, and migration. Currently, her research focuses on issues related to gender identities, the anthropology of the body, domestic and care work, and new forms of family and kinship within Italian society. Among her publications are Scelte di famiglia, tendenze della parentela nella società contemporanea, 2010, Per formare corpi, esperienze e rappresentazioni, 2013, Antropologia delle famiglie contemporanee, 2019, and Parentele del terzo millennio, 2022. Please join me in welcoming Professor Grilli.
Thank you, Paolo, for this presentation. Thank you to the organizer of this conference and for inviting me to give a presentation. It's truly a great honor for me to be here. I believe the topic of kinship, or queer kinship, is a fundamental issue in the current scientific debate on new forms of family and kinship. To begin my presentation, I will share with you some brief family stories collected during my fieldwork in Italy. The first story is about a gay couple of father. A gay couple, Carlo and Giacomo, two fictional names. Carlo and Giacomo are a young gay couple, parents of a 2-year-old child, conceived through gestational surrogacy, with egg donation at a clinic in California. They live in a city in northern Italy. Legally, the child is recognized solely as the son of Carlo, the genetic father, with no connection to the other intended parents, Giacomo. Giacomo has applied to the competent court for the adoption in special case. The adoption in special case of the non-biological son, the so-called stepchild adoption. A procedure that requires thorough examination by psychological social workers, subject to an uncertain outcome. The two fathers gladly talk about their surrogate. They show me a picture of her. They are in connection with the surrogate and her own children. A significant relationship, akin to kinship, has been established. She's referred to as an aunt, a collateral bond. The second story concerns a bisexual single mother. Paola, a fictitious name, is a single mother of a 70-year-old girl conceived through artificial insemination in Denmark with an anonymous donor. She lives with her daughter at her parents' house in a small provincial town where she works as an employee. She tells me her life story after some failed heterosexual relationships. She realized she was bisexual, and above all, she matured the desire to become mother. Paola decided to embark on single motherhood, so the decision to become a mother did not therefore mature within a couple relationship. However, currently, he is in love with another woman, who is trying to build a relationship with Paola's son. Paola is still living under parents' roof. They are very proud to have become grandparents, but they do not accept their daughter's homosexuality. They refuse to acknowledge her homosexuality. They don't talk about this orientation, sexual orientation. The third story is about two lesbian mothers. Alessia, 50 years old, and Michela, 40 years old, have been a couple for many years. Mothers of a 4-year-old child born from anonymous sperm donation in Belgium. Michela is the biological mother, Alessia is the social mother. Alessia also has another 40-year-old son born from her previous heterosexual marriage. The boy is living with them. They are a blended family, a recombinant family, with 2 moms and 2 children. During the interview, the conversation turns to the younger son born within the couple's relationship. Both women claim that the child bears a striking resemblance to the social mother in behavior, movement, and facial expression. I realize that resemblance between parents and children and among siblings is a deeply felt issue even for rainbow family. Is a way to outline the relationship between the child and his social mother, recognize her role, the role she has had in his growth. All 3 of these family stories depict real-life scenarios that define the kaleidoscopic landscape of queer kinship. In such a realm of queer kinship, we can encounter different individuals who may identify with various gender identities and sexual orientation, developing pathways of gender affirmation, both binary and or not-binary, blended gender, sex, sexual orientation, and family choices in various ways. Many forms of partnership, many forms of filiation. Recent ethnographic studies highlight how these different subjective experiences have enriched the practice of family making and relationship building, thereby making more complex the process of biological generation and expanding the forms of parenthood. The concept of queer kinship proves particularly fitting as it surpasses the tendency to essentialize the subjective identities of its members, acknowledging the variance in gender and sexual orientation and their impact of relational dynamics. Members of a couple may both be homosexual, or one may be homosexual while the other is bisexual or transgender, and so forth. Intimate couple relationships may be monogamous or non-monogamous, while parenting experience may involve couples, single parents, or co-parenting arrangement involving 3 or more parents. In addition, many individuals may include in their current lives relationship, conjugal, filial, and parental, formed at different points in their life journey. In queer kinship, all those who adopt an eccentric position towards the hegemonic models of reproduction and social continuity within a given context can be included. Not only LGBTIQI+ individuals, but also heterosexual people who choose not to be in a couple, who do not aspire to have a family of their own, who voluntarily abstain from procreating or procreating alone, who adopt non-standardized living arrangement, who adopt a non-progressive temporality. Even such experiences can be considered, in certain cases, out of place and outside the norm. The boundary of normality, moreover, is never fixed. It changes over time. It is subject to contestation and can have different implications concerning social norms, custom, legal norms, law, moral and religious values. Different conception of normality, sometimes competing, can even coexist in the same context, as in our present, and influence bodies, procreation, parenthood, the idea of family and relationality in various ways. Perhaps the question to ask is not only who transgresses, but what is being transgressed. Considering the ideas of normality incorporated into laws, legal devices, social politics, as well as in discourses and representations shared by individuals and social groups. As an anthropologist specialized in the study of kinship, it was almost natural for me to focus my attention on the multiple differentiated realities of families, of individuals considered outside the norm, such as gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender. These individuals are often forced, compelled to live in invisibility and lack legal recognition, resulting in a genuine, sometimes troubled state of kinship. Regarding this precarious life, the scientific role included the political responsibility, not only to contribute to their understanding, but also to disseminate what the social sciences, anthropology, sociology, demography, have produced. This stands in contrast to the reduction of existence opportunities perpetuated, even in Italy, by a reactionary and exclusionary politics that not only denies rights, generated second-class citizens, precarious citizenships, but consistently engage in what Martha Nussbaum has defined as the politics of disgust. The politics of disgust. The politics involve devaluing, this policy involves devaluing or even denying the humanity of some who are pointed to as the others, to whom the right to equality is not recognized, with the aim of preserving a fictitious purity for the so-called dominant group, heteronormative dominant group. Family and kinship of gay, lesbian, and transgender individuals certainly represent the most visible and extreme aspect of the metamorphosis in terms of structure on one hand and of meaning on the other, the metamorphosis that kinship has undergone in contemporary societies in general. The interest of anthropology in queer kinship is an integral part of the rebirth, resurgence of kinship in Western context, promoted by the so-called new kinship studies since the 1990s. Queer kinship, in particular rainbow families, have gradually gained a social media visibility, entering public discourse and attracting the interest of scholars. They represent, family rainbows represent a cognitive challenge as they compel us to reconsider conventional notions of family, parenthood, intimacy, and to recognize the diversity and complexity of human relationship beyond normative frameworks. Queer kinship has certainly contributed to affirming the centrality of intentional dimension of care and affection in defined family, and they thus serve as a privileged observatory for critically reflecting on the process of naturalization that affect gender, reproduction, and heteronormative sexuality. In this talk, I will first reflect on the emergence of the desire of parenthood, largely thanks to advancement in reproductive medicine. By closely observing this path to parenthood, one can grasp the various meaning that the biogenetic dimension takes on in the construction, in the make of familial bonds, as well as the emergence of new relationship and parental subjectivities. Secondly, I will consider how queer relationality, how queer relatedness impacts the traditional Euro-American kinship system, which is based on cognatic descent, bilateral descent, the centrality of couple, and biparentally. As you well know, the first studies date back to the late 1970s, but it's primarily after the publication of the book Family We Choose, Gays, Lesbians, and Kinship, by feminist anthropology Kat Weston in 1991, that queer kinship fully entered the anthropological debate on kinship. Weston's research illustrates how homosexuals in the San Francisco Bay Area, in some cases rejected by their family of origin, formed chosen family of choice, based on emotional bonds, shared history, material and emotional support, and other signs of solidarity, particularly reinforced in the late 80s by the HIV crisis. The book definitely contributes to showing that there can be families not necessarily based on the heterosexual notion of family procreation. These relationships are capable of enduring over time and expressing enduring solidarity, thus endowed with the potential to expand the notion of family well beyond couples and children. If it's real, it's going to last, wrote Weston in 1995. A few years after Weston's study, social research, anthropological research, thanks to the new kinship studies, observes a shift in attitudes among the homosexual population in all Western countries. This includes a tendency to prioritize investment in the couple relationships, and most importantly, to recognize homosexual love as a potential source of family ties, the issue of filiation. This emerging procreative consciousness also directly involved gay, who are beginning to contemplate fatherhood and incorporate it into their life perspectives as a viable option deserving of commitment to attain legitimacy. Socio-anthropological research mainly focuses on the parenthood experience of gay and lesbian couples, interpreting this trend as homosexual fathers and mothers' effort to align their parental roles with those considered normative. There are very few examples of single parenting and also co-parenting. The research tried to consider, however, the research tried to consider it also aims to understand the innovative nature of these familial and filial experiences, especially among gay and lesbian individuals. Placing these experiences in the context of broader changes in social, legal, medical sphere domains. Indeed, only a situated interpretation of these experiences, considering their historical and cultural context, as well as the degree of social acceptance and legal recognition they receive in different national and geopolitical contexts, can reveal the extent of normalization achieved. It should be remembered that even today, queer individuals in many European countries are relegated to a condition of diminished citizen, cittadinanza dimezzata. The objective is therefore to understand the actual ability of individuals to enact queerness in their respective context, seeking to answer the question as suggested by Gary Butler, when and how do new kinship systems mimic the structure of the nuclear family, and when and how do they radically recontextualize them in a way that constitute a rethinking of kinship. As you well know, medical knowledge, medical technology, has played a central role in the process of redefining both gender identities and in particular the aspiration to parenthood of many queer individuals. Fertility reproductive medicine has contributed to fueling the cultural expectation of parenthood among homosexuals, generating the so-called homosexual baby boom during the 2000s. These individuals have been able to experience unprecedented generative paths compared to the past, navigating with skill through the disjunctions introduced by reproductive medicine between sexuality and reproduction and between heterosexuality and reproduction. Reproductive medicine has allowed them to conceive of themselves as parents of children at least partly biogenetically attributable to at least one of the two parents, expressing their emotional understanding and desire to share parenthood. Even transgender people have recently been encouraged by reproductive medicine to envision themselves as future parents. They can freeze their own gametes and later become parents with a gender and parental status that do not correspond with their role in conception. A trans woman may conceive using her own sperm and become the social mother of a child. Similarly, a trans man may conceive using his own eggs and give birth, becoming the father of the child. Ethnographic data has shown the social uses of assisted reproduction by queer individuals, who, as Corinna Hayden already noted in her pioneeristic work on lesbian mothers in 1995, reinterpret biological bonds, resignify biological bond, which thus lose stability and become transient, situational. More than other intended parents, therefore, gay and lesbian individuals explicitly negotiate the value of various biological grammars by creatively using biogenetic components. Among homosexual people, the biogenetic dimension of parenthood is not removed from the scene of conception. However, it is always the result of a collective effort and reflects the choices, commitment of the protagonist, and also their ability to build relationship with those who actively contribute to reproduction, third parties, donors, surrogates, medical staff. Scholars agree that compared to other forms of parenthood, heteronormative parenthood, queer parenthood appears to better articulate the expression of choice and intentionality, demanding intense commitment and the ability to cultivate relationship. For gay, lesbian, transgender couples, the irrelevance of sexual intercourse in conception is not just a fortuitous condition, as it is for heterosexual couples, who are sometimes forced to acknowledge their infertility and resort to medical technology. Rather, it becomes an element capable of conferring meaning to the parenting experience, which is primarily the result of desire, intentionality, and choice. Those individuals or couples who can not only reproduce with the help of others are involved in deep self-reflection, a genuine emotional work with strong ethical implications and in equally intense negotiating in order to find the best reproductive solution possible, taking into account what is desired, financial means, and what's best for themselves and their children. The strategies used to become parents include the how and with whom to conceive and who carried this pregnancy will be openly disclosed to the child, to the children and the outside world without lies, and will be affirmed as a distinctive aspect of their family situation that goes beyond the typical norm. Homoparenting clearly presents the space between the biological generation of the child and its transformation into a son or a daughter through care, protection, love, la trasformazione del bambino in un figlio. Those who wish to become parents and raise the child rely on the contributions of third parties, donors, surrogates, parents, those who want to be parents, are not always the ones who generate children, or in many cases do not do so on their own. The process of procreation itself, among a same couple, is always, should be seen a collective construction effort. In this context, the couple is, on one hand, reaffirmed as a symbolic center of the family and kinship system, but on the other, it is challenged as it cannot be considered self-sufficient. La coppia è centrale ma non autosufficiente. It cannot hide the absence of sexual difference, but refuses to accept it as the exclusive foundation of desire, sexuality, family, as well as alliance and filiation. Same-sex parenting undermines one of the most solid symbolic foundations, namely the value of heterosexuality as a fundamental element of family reproduction, or as the cultural translation of a natural, necessary, and necessitating condition. In the request to be considered as to fathers or to mothers, one can discern not only the recognition of their parenting function, but above all the legitimation of a new parental status and of a new type of couple, no longer based on sexual complementarity, understood as the foundation of its procreative and educational complementarity. Gay fatherhood especially diverges from the traditional social connection with the mother. It suggests that the mother's role in the care and upbringing of the social is unnecessary and introduce gay fatherhood, introduce a new procreative code. This code redefined the female body by recognition that the person giving birth is not automatically, naturally, always a mother. Moreover, homosexual parenthood seems unable to evade the acknowledgement and revelation of the bonds involved in its realization. Thus, it inevitably aligns with the framework of multi-parenthood as part of a broader understanding of parenthood. As a result, the boundaries of family can expand to include other potential relationships. A close examination of queer families allows for an appreciation of the complexity of their relational dynamics, which exemplify the performativity of contemporary kinship, la performatività della parentela, grounded in everyday practices such as caregiving, sharing of spaces, time, and even food. Relationship arise through process of doing as much as being. Il processo del fare più che dell'essere. The queer individuals relies on and actively participate in multi-oriented relationships. Individuals who identify as homosexual, bisexual, transgender are engaged in constructing their own chosen families in every day, being transparent and emphasizing about their life choices. However, they often find themselves renegotiating relationship with parents, siblings, grandparents, aunts, uncles, as well as with former heterosexual partners and their children from previous relationships. This is mostly a challenging endeavor, a true relational work with uncertain outcomes. As emerged from research conducted in Italian context, the coming out regarding gender and sexual orientation almost inevitably generates trouble in blood relationship. Individuals often find themselves experiencing misunderstanding and conflicts, grappling with the internalized homophobia present within their relational circles. The acceptance of the individual's new identity may be not guaranteed within the original family, and some relationships may even be completely severed. These experiences are a source of suffering and disorientation. A che punto siamo? Ce l'ho 10 minuti. Scusate, non mi sento molto bene. To conclude, I would like to emphasize how the coexistence of elements of normalization and subversion is the distinctive feature of many queer individuals, families, or to say in other words, the tension between normalizing pressures and the production of new normative orders is the the most important characteristic of this experience. Queer people draw upon various relational registers and express the desire to be recognized and fully legitimized, even legally, as full-fledged relational subject. Children, parents, siblings. This desire of recognition is not a request of assimilation, but rather express the need to feel ordinary. Quoting the words of Joanna Misieliska, to protect themselves and their children from social marginalization and exclusion, from the most basic citizenship rights, seeking to escape deeply rooted social and institutional homophobia, which can be more or less violent. Anthropological research indicates the importance of adopting more inclusive conceptual frameworks capable of intercepting queer action in the making and unmaking of families in different sociocultural contexts, especially in areas, in countries where LGBTQI+ rights are not fully recognized or socially included. The cognitive challenges facing social research are numerous. Upon them will depend the ability of ethnographic practice to approach people's real lives in order to grasp the complexity of their relational lives, forced between the state, legal frameworks, market logics, and medical biotechnologies. Social anthropological research have shown how laws rooted in heteronormative view of family life and reproduction, such as those in Italy, can impact on the lives of queer individuals, often leading to their marginalization. They are excluded from reproductive medicine in Italy, forced into reproductive exile, which foster class inequalities because not all have monetary resources to go abroad. Gay and lesbian persons are enabled to legally recognize their own children. I refer to social parenting in same-sex couple, and are at risk of losing ties with their children in case of separation of the couple, for example. This applies to homosexual as well as transgender people. In Italy, the law 40, the law 40 denies access to queer individuals, as well as a single woman. Queer individuals are real precarious in reproduction, sono precari della riproduzione. As mentioned at the beginning, there are some experiences, form of cohabitation and relationship that are not explicitly tied to LGBTQI+ identities. But also they manifest potential for resistance and subversion of traditional model, which brings them closer to the queer condition. Many people, regardless of their sexual orientation, may choose consensual non-monogamy or opt out of a traditional family structure. Some may not desire parenthood at all, while others may become single parents. Additional, these are those who share parenthood with multiple individuals through co-parenting arrangement. These latter experiences were common in early same-sex parenting, but and now are resurging, particularly in northern countries. Some recent studies show the function of the so-called non-normative intimacies, which are based on bonds of affection, solidarity, and care that arise from those who no longer prioritize the standard couple and live within multifaceted networks of friends, companions, roommates, and lovers. This domestic arrangement, as described by Leo Acquistapace in Bologna, show how sharing the same living space, sharing certain material condition of existence, can create a relationship based on care and mutual attention, meeting basic daily needs without necessarily involving romantic love and or commitment. The future remains uncertain for many queer individuals. But what is clear is that many are determined to pursue family, parenthood, and cohabitation despite challenges. Their diverse experiences have played a role in reshaping traditional notion of kinship. They contributed to queering traditional kinship. The homosexual experience has indeed challenged institutions such as the family and marriage through a process of denaturalization, as noted by Eric Fassin. It prompts us to question the assumed obviousness of the norms of compulsory heterosexuality and demonstrate how family life and marriage continuously undergo resignification in both practice and individual representation. Queer elements both mimic and redefine the dominant model, yet their acceptance on family and marriage holds a subversive political significance. In addition, it is precisely from the queer world that the need to reflect on the status of relationships with donors, especially surrogates, as a rise from this from familiar Cobaleno in particular, this need to reflect on the status of these relationships with donors, in particular with surrogates. These positions seems to express an awareness of the importance of combining the freedom of intending parents to self-determine their reproductive choice, accessing reproductive medicine, with the rights to health and social well-being of surrogates and donors. The issue of so-called reproductive justice is deeply felt. It's very important. The socio-poetic nature of such a relationship is appreciated especially in the queer world, which suggests the possibility of a procreative code that abandons exclusive parenthood and differences to make room for an expanded parenthood open to other procreative figures. In this presentation, I have emphasized how the plurality of gender and sexual orientation is a fundamental axis for understanding the metamorphosis of relational life in contemporary society. This inevitably requires the integration of different disciplinary perspectives, from legal to social anthropological, and an intersectional approach that takes into account the various factors of discrimination. These include not only gender and sex, but also class, race, religion, health, all of which affect people. Queer kinship will continue to interrogate, to challenge the same anthropological categories of interpretation of kinship, and requires us, as scholars, to assume political responsibility in the noble sense of terms, to contribute not only to knowledge, but to the possibility of existence that our societies can truly offer to these individuals and their families. Mi fermo qua.
Se l'hai fatta?